we start. We're live, we're streaming live. I'm going to be playing Mampai's profile and we'll take it up from there.
Mampai is an organizational psychologist, coach, facilitator, public speaker, and MC. She holds an MCOM degree in human resources management, and her passion is people. In her human resources career span of over 20 years, she has worked for different organizations in mining, FMCG, IT, public sector, financial services, and consulting. Her consulting career entailed provision of professional consulting services to clients in South Africa, Botswana, Swaziland, Namibia, Tanzania, Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, Zambia, Uganda, Mauritius, Seychelles, and UAE. These services were in the following areas: talent management, psychometric assessments, leadership development, performance management, job analysis, and job evaluation competency framework design. Her article titled How to Review Leadership Talent was published in HR Pulse Magazine SA, August 2012. Adept in delivering through large, complex change projects, she confidently drives objectives that improve organizational performance, efficacy, and people transformation. Her ability to influence stakeholders at all levels of the organization, think strategically, perform decisively with superior levels of integrity add to her career portfolio. She has featured as a speaker at events such as the IPM Convention in South Africa and Namibia 2011, the first HR Summit in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania 2011, HR Future Conference in South Africa 2015, and the 12th HR Summit in Arusha, Tanzania 2022. As an MC, she has hosted several events with confidence, connecting with her audience through infectious energy and sharp wit. Most recently, Mampai was a judge for the 2023 Top 50 WIMA Women in Management Africa Awards.
Ladies and gentlemen, please can you welcome Mampai on this virtual stage? Let me see the energy in the room. Mampai, over to you.
Thank you so much to me, and good evening to everybody. I'm so excited to be here. By the way, I am live from South Africa. As you can see, I'm sitting in the semi-dark because we are load shedding. So when I share my presentation, I'm going to switch off my camera so that I don't have issues with bandwidth. But very excited to be here and to have a conversation with you on this amazing topic that energizes me so much. So I'm just going to ask that I share my screen. I think you've allowed me to share, right, to me? Okay,
yes,
are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, okay. So my topic for today is breaking patterns of self-sabotage. Now, I call this self-sabotage the inner enemy because it's really self-inflicted. No one does it to us. We actually do it to ourselves. Now, let's just think about our New Year's resolutions. I don't know if some of you still remember what your New Year's resolutions were. So if we just travel back to the 1st of January 2023, what were yours? So what were your New Year's resolutions? What were the things that you said you were going to do and achieve this year? You don't have to answer me, but you can just think about it. Now, the question is, are you still working on them? Or have they been abandoned with a mental note to try again in 2024? So we embark on New Year's resolutions with a hope and determination to improve our lives in the upcoming year. But according to a study that was done in 2015 by a clinical psychologist called Joseph Luciani. So he's popularly known as Dr. Joe. He says every year by the beginning of February, approximately 80% of new resolutions or new goals that we've set for ourselves have been abandoned. Now, these resolutions are disrupted in a lot of ways. And one of the most prevalent way is self-sabotage. And I think, we might think that a self-sabotage resolution can seem like a small thing. However, chronic self-sabotage can lead to destructive outcomes in our personal lives as well as our professional lives. So something that's interesting is that, self-sabotage is actually more prevalent than we realize. So the likes of Abraham Lincoln, Fred Rogers, Michelangelo, John F. Kennedy, and George Washington all experienced some aspect of self-sabotage before they made history in their lives. Now, what is self-sabotage? If we look at some of the definitions of self-sabotage, it is really the conscious or unconscious behaviors, thoughts, or actions that we engage in which hinder our progress, success, or even our well-being. So when we self-sabotage ourselves, we undermine our own goals, aspirations, or relationships, but often without being fully aware of the negative impact. And self-sabotage can manifest in various areas of our lives, such as our careers, our relationships, our health, and our personal development. So in a nutshell, self-sabotage is those actions that we take or thoughts or behaviors that we engage in either consciously or unconsciously. Now, self-sabotage can take many forms and may vary from person to person. I just want to share with you some of the common examples of self-sabotage, and I'm sure you can relate to some of these examples. The first one is procrastination. So when we procrastinate, we basically delay or avoid tasks that are necessary for achieving goals, often resulting in missed opportunities, higher levels of stress, anxiety, and sometimes even depression. This is where we wait until the last minute to do what we need to do. So occasionally we do feel like that. It's normal to feel like, oh, I'll do it later. But doing this on a regular basis holds us back from achieving some of our goals. So I think if I just think about a voice that comes up when I procrastinate, it's really about I'll do it later, or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. So that is a sign for me that I'm procrastinating. The second one is fear of failure, which is quite common among a lot of adults. So this is where we intentionally avoid challenges or not give our best efforts due to a fear of not meeting expectations or even facing disappointments. But this fear really paralyzes us from taking any productive steps ahead. So here, I think the voice that I sometimes have when I fear failing, when I go into something and I have this fear of failure, would be, what if I mess it up? What if I don't succeed? And then I know my flag is up. Self-doubt is another common example of self-sabotage. So when we engage in negative self-talk, where we doubt our abilities or we undermine our potential, this can lead to a lack of confidence and low levels of motivation. I think for those of you who probably are familiar with some of the psychological terms, this is also known as the imposter syndrome. So it can manifest in different ways. For example, when we don't honor our own boundaries and we just let other people, walk all over us, or we don't speak for ourselves when others treat us badly. We don't probably try for new jobs, new opportunities that we really want because we don't believe in ourselves and we don't believe that we have what it takes to succeed. So I think a voice that normally comes up here is, I can't do this. This is for certain people and not me. I don't have the right skills or I don't have the right capabilities to do this. The next one is perfectionism, which I also find a lot with some of the clients that I coach, you know, the need to be perfect. And really here it's about setting excessively high standards for oneself and being overly critical of the mistakes or being perceived as imperfect. So this can also lead to us feeling that we are inadequate, that we are not good enough, and therefore lead to low self-esteem. So often when we want to be perfect, you know, the end goal of perfectionism is really unrealistic, because if we are honest with ourselves, there is nothing like perfection. People pleasing. I also find this to be one of the common examples that I see with the clients that I work with. So here it's really around when we start prioritizing the needs and desires of other people at the expense of our own well-being, often resulting in where we neglect our own personal goals or we sacrifice our self-care. So this really manifests where we sometimes overcommit, and this overcommitment leads to feelings of guilt or even increased stress levels, and occasionally can lead to burnout. So when we take more than what we can actually do because we want to be everything to everybody, we can end up self-sabotaging because we are so concerned about pleasing other people and not really taking our own needs or making our own needs a priority. Self-sabotaging relationships is another common example. So really here is where we engage in toxic or unhealthy relationships. And this is also about, you know, when we start choosing partners who are unsuitable for us, who are unavailable for us, who sometimes could be abusive, or where we just create conflict that sabotages the potential for healthy connections with others. So I think, you know, one of the reasons why people would go into self-sabotaging relationships is that people want a sense of belonging. And at times you actually take this too far, where you give so much of yourself to a relationship that's actually toxic for you. So this is one common example of self-sabotage. Self-isolation. So here it's where we start withdrawing from social interactions, where we avoid opportunities for connecting with others or getting support from others, which can also lead to loneliness and hinder personal growth. Now, I think we're all aware that humans are social beings, you know, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there are times where you really need that social interaction. So, you know, as I was just thinking about this today, I reflected on a time where we you know, when COVID-19 hit us. By the way, I'm an introvert, for those of you who don't know. And normally I'm not a very big outdoor person, but when COVID-19 hit, in South Africa, we had level 5 lockdown, which meant that we only left our houses to go, you know, get medical attention or to get groceries, and that was about it. So we were literally stuck in our homes. We couldn't even walk on the streets in the complex or the state that I stay in. And I think psychologically, this thing really worked on me, because even though I'm not a big outdoor person, but just knowing that I'm stuck and I have no choice, you know, it worked on me so much that I felt like I was going to go mad. So really this talks to human beings being social beings. Whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, we need those interactions with others. Destructive habits. So really we know that habits are those behaviors or the routines that we perform regularly, which become automatic. So it's almost like when you drive a car, it becomes automatic. That's how habits work. So when we start engaging in behaviors such as, you know, it could be substance or drug abuse, excessive gambling, overeating, overspending. Some of us are addicted to social media, or even just having an environment where you either live in or you work in that is very disorganized and chaotic, this can also have a very huge impact on our personal, on our physical, or even our mental well-being. All right, so I think, you know, from these examples that I've shown, most of you can probably relate to some of them from time to time. And I just want to mention that these are normal, right? It's normal feelings, it's normal behaviors. However, if any of these examples describe you most of the time, then, you know, you owe it to yourself to find out what might be contributing to you getting in your own way and holding you back. Because these behaviors hold us back from being the best version of ourselves. So now that we understand what self-sabotage is, how it manifests in our lives, the question is, why do we self-sabotage? So I'm not convinced, or I haven't actually come across a study that says people just wake up one day and they decide consciously that I'm going to self-sabotage. You know, probably it's a very small percentage of people who would consciously self-sabotage themselves. But for most people, it's really out of habit, where we engage in behaviors that are not constructive or that are not positive and moving us forward in our lives. So why do we self-sabotage? Low self-confidence. So having low self-confidence is one of the reasons why we would self-sabotage. Our self-confidence is really what tells us what we can and what we can't do. So let me just say, I firmly believe that you can do anything that you set your mind to. But for you to you know, succeed and do whatever that you set your mind to, you have to have the confidence to do so. If you lack the self-confidence, then you'll start limiting what you even attempt in your life. Negative self-belief is quite big, and I actually have a passion for working with individuals where we work on those limiting beliefs that they have, you know, negative self-belief. And here it's really around when we start internalizing these negative beliefs about ourselves, such as I'm not good enough, which is very common, or I don't deserve happiness. This can really fuel this concept of self-sabotage. And these beliefs, remember, may also stem from our childhood experiences, different social influences, or even critical voices from authority figures, and they undermine our confidence and motivation. So these limiting beliefs is really how we've been conditioned throughout our lives. And I also saw that, I think we have Peter who's going to talk about mindsets and so on, and that really also talks to this self-belief and how our limiting mindsets are formed as we go through life. Habits. So if you have self-sabotaging habits or behavior, it probably happens without thinking, because remember, habits are automatic. So it's almost like when you drive a car, you don't have to think, okay, now I must step on my clutch to change the gear. If you've been driving for a while, it's a habit. It just happens automatically. So I just want to make an example with losing weight for this one. So let's say, for example, you want to lose weight. So you don't, but then, you know, you don't want to go to gym and do all the work like I don't. I'm not really a very big gym fan. So you don't actively think, I'm going to stop working out and gain weight. You know, that's not what comes to your mind. But let's say you fall out of the gym routine, you end up canceling your membership because it's just wasted money because you never go to gym, right? And then you put on some weight. So if that sounds familiar, I feel you, because I'm also in the same boat where I went and I canceled my membership gym. But in my mind, I wasn't saying I'm not going to gym because I want to, you know, gain weight. No, it wasn't that. But self-sabotage is really also about certain habits that we formed in our lives and the things that we do automatically that are not taking us forward. So we do these out of habits, And if we don't stop to think about the outcomes of the behavior, it just becomes automatic and it becomes our way of doing things and our way of life. Now, lack of self-awareness is also quite critical, because here it's obviously, being aware of yourself is something that we think about, okay, self-awareness, but what is it about, Are you aware of yourself? Do you have self-awareness? Are you sabotaging your life because you're unsure of who you are, what your strengths are, what your areas of development are, what your interests are, and even what is your passion or your purpose, So sometimes we go through life just living one day at a time without really stopping to think, who am I? What am I good at? What do I need development in? What am I interested in? What are those things that keep me excited, that make me look forward to another day? What am I here to do? So what is my purpose on this planet? And then we have laziness. So some self-sabotaging behavior comes directly from just being lazy. It takes effort to succeed or to reach our goals, and it takes effort to work on our mental health and our happiness. Is this worth it? Absolutely. But is everybody willing to put in the work that is required? Absolutely not, because it's not easy and people give up. So once you get into the routine of not doing anything, it becomes hard to start again. So one of the ways that we self-sabotage is when we become lazy. And remember I said, with some of these behaviors, it's normal to feel lazy one day and whatever, but if it's laziness every day, then it's a red flag to say something is not right. You need to unpack and understand why you have so much laziness. Trauma, I think this one is quite big as one of the underlying issues why people sabotage themselves. And it's really the leading cause of self-sabotage. So when we start understanding that the things that happened to us as we were growing up and throughout every stage of our life, when we understand how these things affect us and the fact that they actually affect our entire future, it's actually scary and it's quite wild, right? But if you grew up, for example, being told that you're not enough, you won't make it, you can't succeed, that will probably stick with you for a very, very long time. But we have control over our trauma. As crazy as it might sound, we can overcome it. And also, I think I'm also here to remind each and every one of you that you are enough, you are capable, and you can do anything and be successful. Insecurity is another reason why we self-sabotage. So this is really common in relationships. So we sometimes sabotage our own relationships because we are scared to build that trust. Sometimes we ruin things that are meant to be so special because we choose to let fear of intimacy or fear of rejection or even fear of trusting others take priority. Blame game is another reason why we self-sabotage. And really, it thrives, self-sabotage thrives in blame games. So not only does blame fault other people, it also hinders us and our abilities to grow. So if you don't like taking responsibility for your life, this one is for you. Because when you continue blaming others for your life and for things not going wrong and not taking responsibility for your own life, you're obviously not going to move forward and achieve what you set out to achieve, because you are letting external factors define what you are about, how you are, and that can hold you back in terms of moving forward. Overstating our abilities, I think probably this one is something that we never really think about. But when you start taking more than what you can handle, you're actually self-sabotaging. So do you sometimes ever procrastinate because you've taken more than you can actually do? Because remember, we spoke about people pleasing as well. So when you start taking more than what you are capable of doing, you are actually self-sabotaging yourself. And we find that, you know, when people start procrastinating because they've taken more than what they can do, they start feeling overwhelmed, because obviously you can't do your best when you're under pressure, right? So you might even think, you know, why am I doing this? But when people come with stuff and they give it to you and you're like, no, I can do it, whereas you already know that your plate is full. So you have to protect your energy because you cannot be your best self if you're spread thin. And then the last one is comfort zone and familiarity. So stepping out of one's comfort zone and embracing change can be very uncomfortable and anxiety provoking. Some individuals may actually unconsciously sabotage their progress or resist change so that they stay within their familiarity and predictable circumstances, even if those circumstances and those environments are not fulfilling to them. So these are some of the reasons why we self-sabotage, and reasons that could actually be holding us back from being the best versions of ourselves. Now, obviously, everything that we do has consequences, right? And the consequences of self-sabotage can actually be far-reaching, and they include, but are not limited to, stagnation, so hindering your personal and professional growth, which basically leads to a lack of progress and development in our lives. So we become stagnant, we probably stay at the same place for a very, very long time. Regret. So over time, the accumulation of missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential can result in feelings of regret and dissatisfaction. Low self-esteem, we spoke about this. Self-sabotage often reinforces the negative self-perceptions about ourselves, and it can really diminish our self-esteem, our self-worth, as well as our confidence. Relationship strain. So self-sabotaging behaviors can strain our relationships with others as well as with ourselves, leading to feelings of isolation, disconnection, and probably loneliness. Mental and emotional distress. It's actually distress. I see I left out the DI and I said emotional stress, so it's emotional distress. Engaging in self-sabotage behaviors continuously can contribute to increased stress, anxiety, as well as depression in certain cases. Reinforcement of negative self-beliefs. Remember, when we self-sabotage, we're actually reinforcing negative beliefs about ourselves. So we're creating this self-fulfilling cycle of underachievement. So it's also important to note that self-sabotaging patterns can be complex and deeply ingrained, because remember, some of these behaviors come with us a long way. Some of them come from our childhood experiences, etc., etc. So identifying and addressing these patterns often require some self-reflection, self-compassion, where you're also becoming kind to yourself and potentially seeking professional help from therapists, coaches, or even counselors. Now, you're probably asking yourself, okay, Mampai, we now understand what self-sabotage is. We understand what are some of the examples and how it manifests. Now we understand why we sabotage. We also understand what the consequences are. So what is the way forward? So how can we overcome this cycle of self-sabotage? Now, overcoming self-sabotage can be very challenging, ladies and gentlemen. But the good news is that behaviors are not static or fixed for life. They can be changed, and they can also be weakened by boosting our mind's positive muscles. So it's almost like the same as when we build muscles on our body. You need to exercise those muscles regularly so that they start becoming stronger, So even with overcoming self-sabotage, because it's things that we think about, it's actions that we do, it's our feelings, etc. When we start exercising our mind's positive muscle, eventually it's going to overtake all these weak muscles of sabotage, because we would have started going into a process where we make these muscles much more stronger and be able, to weaken the muscles of self-sabotage. So here are some strategies that can help us. Developing self-awareness, probably this is the first step in overcoming self-sabotage, is really to recognize and understand that patterns or behaviors that are holding us back, are due to the fact that we are not aware of ourselves. So we need to start paying attention to our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. We also need to identify any self-defeating patterns or beliefs. So I usually call this red flags. When a red flag goes up, it basically indicates that this is an unhelpful behavior for you. So when we start becoming more conscious about our own thoughts, our own emotions, and our own actions, it helps us to be able to overcome the challenge of self-sabotage. Challenging negative self-talk. This is quite big, because I think most of us have this. Once in a while, you have these voices coming up telling you how not good enough you are, or how not beautiful you are, or how not clever you are, whatever that the voice is telling you. So replacing self-critical thoughts with positive and empowering ones help in terms of challenging this negative self-talk. So we need to start practicing self-compassion and remind ourselves that everybody makes mistakes and we all face setbacks. Another strategy that I actually find working, it's really worked for me, but it takes a while. It takes commitment, it takes discipline and persistence, is affirmations. So I think there was a study that was done that asked the question, how long does it take to change a habit? And I think it's like 66 days or something like that, not the 21 days that people always think about. So when you start thinking about doing affirmations, you need to really be disciplined, because it's things that you need to be saying to yourself every day, even a lot of times a day, until it really becomes automatic and you start believing that I am good enough and I'm going to succeed, whatever your affirmations are. It also helps to have some sort of, what can I call it? A trigger for your affirmations. So let's say you're driving to work, and when the traffic light goes red, it's your trigger to say your affirmations. So you need to find those triggers that will help you, will help in terms of reminding you that it's time for you to say your affirmations. So I see affirmations working for a lot of people, even some of the clients that I work with in my coaching practice. Set realistic goals. I think setting achievable and specific goals that are aligned with our values and priorities really help in terms of overcoming self-sabotage. Just make them easy, break them down into smaller, manageable steps so that you are able to maintain motivation and progress. So when you set your goals, yes, you do have an ultimate goal, but then you also need to come up with small steps that are going to move you towards that goal. Break the cycle of perfectionism. So we need to start also embracing the growth mindset, where we believe that our qualities can be changed and can be developed through effort and persistence, and focus on progress rather than perfection. And as I said, I don't think there's no perfection. Nobody is perfect. Nothing is perfect. So let's focus on the progress that we're making rather than wanting to be perfect. And we also need to accept that mistakes and experiencing certain setbacks in our lives are natural parts of the learning process. Build a supportive network. This is quite important. So if we surround ourselves with people who support our goals and they provide positive reinforcement, it can help us a lot in terms of overcoming self-sabotage. Share your aspirations, your challenges with your trusted friends, family members, mentors, coaches, who can offer guidance, encouragement, and also help you in terms of holding yourself accountable. Developing healthy coping mechanisms. So if we start exploring healthy coping mechanisms, such as it could be exercise, it could be meditation, it could be journaling your thoughts, or even seeking professional help, depending on, you know, how severe your situation is. But it's always good to get professional help because it also helps in terms of uncovering and unpacking some of the underlying issues that you might be struggling with. Creating a supportive environment. So even modifying your own environment, the space that you work in, removing distractions, establishing habits or routines, certain routines, and creating an environment that really fosters focus, productivity, and positive habits. Let's celebrate successes. This is one thing that we don't do as human beings, you know. So we need to acknowledge and celebrate our achievements, no matter how small they are. So recognizing that you are progressing, rewarding yourself, and using these successes as motivations to continue moving forward. So we really, really need to give ourselves credit, pat ourselves at the back, celebrate our small successes, because they really help in terms of keeping us motivated. Practice self-care. So take care of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, prioritizing sleep, proper nutrition, exercising, you know, getting involved in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Self-care really helps in terms of building resilience and reducing the likelihood of self-sabotaging behaviors. And lastly, seek professional help if necessary. Because if self-sabotage persists and it significantly impacts your life, you really, really need to consider seeking support from either a therapist or a counselor. And, you know, these professionals can also help in terms of exploring the underlying issues, developing coping mechanisms and strategies for you, providing you with guidance and tailor-making the solutions to your specific needs. So I think that there are a lot of professionals. You have therapists, you have counselors, you have coaches, but the scope for coaches is quite limited in the sense that they cannot go into therapy and the counseling space because that's not the role of a coach. So with clients that I work with, when I also identify that they need therapeutic intervention or counseling, I normally refer them. So I wouldn't attempt to provide therapy to a client because, you know, I'm not qualified as a therapist who can provide that kind of assistance. So just remember that overcoming self-sabotage is a process that takes time and effort. So you need to be patient with yourself, stay persistent, and don't hesitate to ask for help where it is needed. To me, I just want to check, how am I doing on time?
You have about 5 minutes more. Is that okay?
5 minutes, okay. I think, all right. So I wanted to share some stories of clients that I work with, but it's
yes,
fine.
please do. Please do. Please do.
Oh, okay. Because I only have 5 minutes. All right. So I just thought, let me just share a couple of cases that I've come across and what has happened. So as I said, well, in my introduction, you would have seen that I'm an organizational psychologist and I'm a coach. However, I am not qualified to do therapy or counseling for clients. So I've just taken a couple of examples of 4 of the clients that I've worked with. And yes, I've changed the names for confidentiality purposes. Now, here we have Carl. So Carl is a 35-year-old male. He was struggling with chronic procrastination and self-doubt, which obviously hindered his progress in both his personal and his professional life. So through our coaching journey, we identified some of the underlying reasons for this, for his self-sabotage, were things like he was very fearful of failure, and he was, a perfectionist. So he began then practicing mindfulness. We worked on helping him with adapting, to a growth mindset, knowing that, it doesn't mean that if you are self-sabotaging and you're struggling with certain things, that's it. It can be fixed, it can be changed. But when you start understanding that growth mindset tells you that if you believe that you can change and some of your qualities can be improved through certain journeys and work that you have to do, then it helps, because then it opens up your mind to possibilities. So we started to set very small, achievable goals, and we learned how to celebrate his achievements along the way. And over time, he started, getting out of that pattern of self-sabotaging. And he achieved quite a lot in terms of his careers and some of the opportunities that he started getting, because his self-confidence also almost came back, where he was confident now to say, yes, even if I go into a space where I haven't been before and I fear that I'm going to fail, now I've learned that mistakes and failure is part of the learning program, the learning process. So that really helped him. And then I had Sarah. So Sarah had been battling with negative self-image and constantly putting herself down, obviously sabotaging her relationships and overall well-being. Now, she realized the need to change, right? But I think with her, it was quite, the issues were quite deep-seated. So I actually referred her for therapy because I couldn't go into a space that I'm not qualified to go into. And, she really started also working on challenging herself, a negative self-talk, surrounding herself with people who are supportive, engaging in activities that she never really used to engage in. And it really helped in terms of boosting her self-confidence. So she started doing exercises. She was a creative, so drawing. She was an artist. And she started pursuing that. And over time, she developed a very healthier mindset, found meaning in life, thriving in her personal as well as her professional space. And then we had Lisa. So Lisa struggled with addictive behaviors. So you can see Lisa is 29 years old, but she was struggling with excessive alcohol consumption. So I think if you think about the world that we live in today, there are so many external pressures that we come across that really, makes us start questioning our worth and so on. So remember, I also spoke about addiction to social media. So sometimes social media can be good, but at times it can really mess us up in terms of our mental health. So she had issues with excessive consumption of alcohol. So when she recognized that this was really impacting on her health and relationships, she sought professional help. One of the actions that we came up with from her sessions was that she needed to join a support group, of which she did. And she also worked with a therapist. So she really uncovered a lot of underlying emotional issues that were fueling her self-sabotage. We developed coping mechanisms, she started engaging in very healthy activities, practicing stress management. And as time went on, she broke free from her addiction and restored her health and positive relationships with others. And then the last one is Michael. Michael is a 50-year-old 53-year-old gentleman. So his pattern of self-sabotage really related to his career. I mean, the man is skilled, sure. He's got a lot of skills, he's experienced, but he always found reasons to doubt his abilities and turn down any exciting opportunities, because he felt that he wasn't good enough. So he was very determined to break the cycle. So we started working on career coaching with him and worked on building his self-confidence. So we engaged in regular self-reflection and development strategies to challenge his negative self-beliefs. We included affirmations as well. So with this newfound belief, he started pursuing challenging projects at work, seeking growth opportunities. And yeah, he's doing quite well, and he's achieving things that he never thought he would achieve because he never thought or he never believed that he was good enough. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so in conclusion, self-sabotage is a common and complex behavior that can hinder our personal growth. So as I said, Abraham Lincoln, Fred Rogers, Michelangelo, John F. Kennedy, and George Washington, they all experienced some aspect of self-sabotage before they made history. But each of us can move past these counterproductive behaviors, although our behavior is not always our fault, because some of the causes of our self-sabotage would come from external factors. Our behavior is still our responsibility. To address self-sabotaging behaviors, we need to embark on a journey of self-discovery and self-reflection. This process will involve identifying underlying causes and triggers of self-sabotage. Seeking professional help, such as therapists, coaches, support groups, can really be instrumental in assisting us in terms of overcoming this self-sabotage, and additionally surrounding ourselves with supportive networks of friends, loved ones can encourage and help us in terms of being accountable throughout the journey. It's also important to note that overcoming self-sabotage is not a linear process. There are going to be setbacks that may occur along the way. However, we just need to be persistent and commitment and have that commitment to our personal development. If we have that, we can actually transform these self-sabotaging behaviors and achieve our full potential. So we need to take it slow, make it reasonable, take baby steps where necessary, don't focus on the missed steps, and remember to celebrate your successes. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, just take comfort in the fact that historical legends began as ordinary people, and they have now grappled with these personal struggles, they persevered, and they made a difference. And with that being said, we can also do the same. Thank you. So I read a lot, and I thought I would just include some books that I also found useful on the topic. So these are some nice reads. My recent one is The Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is quite powerful in terms of assisting us to build good habits and also breaking the old ones. So these are quite insightful reads if you would like to read more on how you can overcome self-sabotage. Thank you very much to me.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Like, I don't even know what to say. I just loved the punchline. Great men are ordinary people. You know,
Yes.
as you were talking, that was one of the things that kept jumping up at me, because there's this evergreen conversation. Are men born great? You know, you just feel like great men were born great. They had the special genes. They are not feeling what I'm feeling. This is not this. And for people that joined in late, you missed too. If you had seen Mampai's profile, you would have been terrified. Consultant in like how many countries, and she's coming up to say, I love this, Katri. Yes, we cannot wait to see your story and hear your story. because we are all great people. We all have greatness in us. So tell me, Kemi, what were your aha moments in the presentation?
Okay, my aha moments is that that we do it to ourselves and no one does it to us. And yes, it might not be our fault. However, we're responsible for it, for how we respond to it. So that's like my take home. And then, of course, as you were going through all the characteristics of self-sabotage, I was like, okay, do I have this? Do I have that? And it's almost like I have a little bit of every single one of them. And I like the way you kept on saying in my voice, this is what I say. My voice says, I'll do it later, for procrastination. For fear of failure, what if I mess up? You know, so I liked the way you just kept on saying that. But I totally agree that the comfort for me was that all these great people that we consider as great, they also had self-sabotage, and that's what makes us human. But however, it's what makes you extraordinary is to say, I will not let these things, hold me down. And you've given us tools. And another thing that stuck with me is that, especially in this side of the world, we shun the idea of going to a therapist. We think that's just for crazy people. And I will encourage everyone.
Sorry to cut in, we're all crazy. I mean, from this slide, we're all crazy. So can we just admit it? Because if you're not exhibiting one of these characteristics, then you're not normal. There are days that you feel lazy. There are days you just want to procrastinate. And there was this thing, she said that when, in fact, I wrote it down, that when abnormal becomes normal, then seek help. And nobody can do it for you. So you eat, but when overeating becomes a problem, you need help. We all procrastinate, but when you procrastinate on everything, then you need help. So please, when abnormal becomes normal in your life, seek for help. Yes, Kemi. Sorry to cut in.
Yeah, so I was just saying that, like in my life too, I used to be the person that went. I was just go. And you get to a point that you get to the end of your rope, and you have to seek help. And sometimes it takes someone that doesn't know you to be able to break these things down and tell you that who told you that you needed to be perfect, that there really isn't, it doesn't exist. So it's best, but it takes someone who doesn't know you, who is trained to analyze this, to ask the questions. Because at the end of the day, like when you go to a therapist, they don't say, do this, do that. You come to that conclusion of what your commitment is, but they just ask you the questions that you might not ask yourself, questions that are difficult, they will go there with you. And it's like onion. You just don't know how many layers that are to an onion. But at the end of it, there's definitely healing. I say that everyone should see a counselor, a therapist, someone. And it doesn't mean that you're crazy. It just means that you know that there's more than you can do, that you acknowledge that there's more to you and you don't know how to get to the end of it. Like she said, coaches are like at a lower level of getting help. But I think peak performance, if people are honest, they'll tell you that they've seen a therapist at some point in their life.
And for me, please, if you have any questions, you can raise up your hands or you put it in the chat room. We have just 4 minutes left. Our next speaker is in the house. Yes, everybody is repeating this, that your behavior is not always your fault, but it's your responsibility to correct it. So you just have to be self-aware. I think one of the last things I would ask, because, okay, somebody's hand is up. Susan, yes, Susan, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. It was such an insightful session. Like I had to, like Kemi said, I did an assessment. I'm like, okay, I have everything here. But the question I have is, when you were speaking about why we self-sabotage, you mentioned overstating your abilities. Now, I'd like to know better the difference between overstating your abilities, or how to draw the line between that and motivating yourself to be more. So how do you draw that line so you do not overstate, at the same time you do not belittle yourself? So that's one question, actually two. And then the second one is about self-assessment. How do you have a critical, honest self-assessment without any bias, so you don't overemphasize your strength or underemphasize your weakness. Thank you very much.
Mampai, I'm glad you're the one answering this question.
You want to answer?
No, over to you.
Okay, Susan, thanks for your questions. I think in terms of overstating our abilities, here what I was referring to is when you keep on taking more, you know, even though you know your plate is full, you can't take any more. And we do it because sometimes we're just nice people, other times we want to please others, but that really, you know, doesn't get us anywhere, because you keep taking more and more and more, and you get to a point where you are stressed because you can't deliver everything and you can't be everything to everybody. So I think it's really about knowing how to say no. I know it sounds bad, but we need to get to a point where you can say no. And you're not saying no because you're spiting the other person, but you're saying no because you don't have capacity to do more than what you already have, right? I hope that answers your question. And then the second one on self-assessment, I mean, there's different tools that we use in the psychology space. Some of these tools, we use them when we recruit people in organizations. Sometimes it's tools that you can also do with either your therapist or even your coach. You know, they would have these tools, assessments that they can do for you. At times, you actually need to also get feedback from other people, because sometimes you think, you know, you doing certain things right, or your strength is 1, 2, 3. Sometimes we don't even understand our strengths until somebody says, but you're actually good at talking, you know, and you're like, who, me? No, not me. So getting feedback from others also helps in terms of giving us an outsider's or an outside perspective of some of our strengths, and maybe even areas where we need to develop in. So I hope those that answers your 2 questions, Susan.
Okay, well, thank you so very much. It's 7 on the dot, and we have Jimi Tewe here. So now we're going over to Jimi. Hopefully at the end of the entire session, maybe we'll still be able to have Mampai with us. For the sake of our time, I'll be sharing my screen immediately, and I will be playing Jimi's profile. Just, and we call him the Jimi Tewe. Okay, thank you.
Jimi Tewe. Recognized as one of the 100 most influential young Africans, Jimi has empowered several hundreds of thousands of Africans in more than 30 countries of the world through his speaking events, trainings, coaching programs, social media channels, and live seminars. For almost 2 decades, thousands of people have enjoyed his authentic, humorous, and insightful teachings on performance enhancement using behavioral science techniques, which has led to the emergence of several thriving businesses and recognizable acceleration for working professionals. As a management consultant, Jimi has had extensive experience driving culture change and organization development interventions for clients across several industries, which have consistently led to greater operational efficiency, staff engagement, and leadership activation. He worked in senior leadership of one of Africa's leading financial institutions, United Bank for Africa, UBA. UBA was ranked as one of the top banks in Africa according to the July 2022 edition of the Banker magazine of the Financial Times Group UK. While at UBA, he had direct responsibility for global sourcing of talent to drive operations across the bank's 16 countries of operations. He also drove the bank's organizational design transformation project at that time, and this led to huge organizational efficiency and savings. Jimi Tewe sits on the board of a few commercial and development-focused boards and mentors several business owners and executives whose enterprises have a capitalization in several millions of dollars. Leveraging his extensive consulting and coaching experience, he has been able to provide strategic advisory services and pragmatic solutions, which have helped them unleash the dedication and capacity of their staff, which then led to exponential business results. His unique contributions to the personal development space have not gone unnoticed. He has been recognized as one of the most influential Africans in the personal development space. He has also been awarded Twitter Handle of the Year for Africa, SMAA, and social media overlord for career, Alder Report. His flagship programs have helped to catalyze thousands of individuals around the world to higher dimensions of productivity. Jimi has led human resource consulting projects for various clients across various industries, leveraging his experience and certifications in job analysis and evaluation, emotional intelligence, and executive coaching. His experience working with global consulting firms such as Accenture and others have helped position his organization as a highly sought-after provider of consulting solutions. Jimi is the author of 9 books, including his all-time bestseller, Think. Through his foundation, Jimi is on a mission to raise 1 million people out of poverty through strategic capacity building and financial empowerment programs targeted at university students, MSME business owners, and career professionals willing to transition into business.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have some serious energy in the room? Yes, we have Jimi. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for doing this. We don't
Thank
take it
you.
for
Hi,
granted.
how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Everybody, thank you very much for having me. How y'all doing? That's great.
We're good,
Thank
Jimi.
We're great.
Awesome. Mampai, good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Kemi, good to see you. Thank you, everybody, and Walden, and of course, welcome again to this platform. I must start off by saying a very big thank you to Tumi and her team for the opportunity. I don't say it, particularly in this season, I've not said yes to a number of individuals who have requested for me to speak on their platform because I'm actually working on creating a new me. You know, that's the theme of this event. And typically in that period, that's when you want to, you know, move out of the public light. You want to try to focus on the things that are important while you work on the things inside before you re-emerge. And so when she reached out to me about it, my first response was going to be no. And then I thought about it, and I thought about, you know, how we met and the kind of work she's done. And I said to myself, I will make an exception. And so I'm here today. And I want to say a very big thank you for taking on this summit. You know, there's certain concepts that are very easy for people to relate with, you know, concepts around finances, concepts around success, you know, and things like that. But when you begin to talk about it from a dimension of, you know, talking about exponential growth, you know, and the deep things people want to tune off, people don't want to be a part of that conversation. But the truth about it is this, that we can't create sustainable change if we keep overlooking certain basic fundamental principles, all right? We can't do that. So to create a new you requires a certain understanding. I believe that in the series of this particular event, you are going to be exposed to the different dimensions of that. Now, let me say this to you. When you hear them, they all sound very, very interesting, very, very exciting. But I can tell you up front that they are never easy to do. So I'm actually out in the city of Ibadan. That's a city in Nigeria. I came to see my mom since I'm in the country and all that. Yes, Kemi, Ibadan, yeah, you know, and I came to see my mom, you know, and I said to her, oh, have I lost some weight? I said, oh, yeah, I've lost some weight, you know, and I've been having that weight battle for a while, you know, but the simple thing is that what I did that changed my weight, I have always known it. So knowledge is not power, it is applied knowledge that is power. Let me say this to you, what it takes for your next level, most of you in this forum know it, but most of you don't do it, or you don't do it consistently enough. And that's the reason why you keep coming to this, but who are terrorizing you? All right, I don't know about that, okay? So, but, you know, that's why you keep hearing the same thing over and over again. But let me say this to you. You can't afford to become a library. A library does not improve itself simply because it's only a custodian of knowledge. A lot of human beings have become libraries. Over the course of your life, it is the responsibility of God to ensure that knowledge comes your way. It is your responsibility to recognize it and appropriate it for the transformation in your personal life. I'm going to be 45 this year. And so I have to be intentional about certain things. I've always known, don't take too much sugar. I still struggle. I have a sweet tooth, all right? Everybody knows you don't take too much sugar, all right? But have you ever had a Mars or, Snickers bar? Please, after a Snickers bar is heaven. I mean, it's really nice, all right? With the nuts and all those kind of things. But if you keep taking Snickers bar, the calories will sneak in. That's what's the truth about it. And so I've had to go to Walmart and just walk out of the place with no Snickers bar. Sometimes I come up with one or two, all right? Let me be honest about that, okay? But this is the thing, and that's where I want to really focus on today. I told the team that I won't be able to spend a long time. I just had a meeting. Actually, I'm so excited that everything kind of like worked out, so I just finished a very important meeting, and I'm going to do some other things this evening. I said, you know what? My session today is basically to just tune one or two things for you. We want to talk about, getting exponential growth. Now, if you ever type the word exponential, all right, in Google, you would see a graph. You have the x-axis, the y-axis, all right, and you see the graph. And typically the graph, the line goes something simple. Then at some point you have this sharp growth. And that point is called an inflection point, all right? That is where things get exponential. And there are people that you meet, that their life, everybody's life in a way, if you do the basics, your life would be a graph that goes upwards. But some people, it just keeps going upward to the end of the year. But some people, they seem to have many inflection points where their life keeps taking leaps and bounds. And so what I did at the point in time was that I had to sit down to say, what happened during those inflection points? Because if there's a science, in other words, was there a process? Was there something that he engaged in that season so that if we can engage this more intentionally, we can have a lot more inflection points in our careers, in our finances, in our relationships, in our health, in every different aspect of our lives. And what I found out is that there are things that are there that would actually ensure that you are able to experience that inflection. I'm going to start off with the first one, which has been abused. And for many years, I almost wanted to run away from it, but I realized that it is the key to transformation. That without it, there is never any transformation. I would say the word is a word that starts with I. It's the word inspiration. Now, this is not an aspire to perspire moment, all right? I want you to just calm down and just listen to me for a minute. Because whenever you hear the word inspiration, then you say, they've come, motivational speakers. And listen to me, if you don't want motivational speakers, you are only left with demotivational speakers. So pick one, all right? So I'm not even going to go in that direction right now. That the word inspiration essentially speaks to an experience, an elevated experience based on an elevated awareness. I'll say that again. An elevated experience based on an elevated awareness. What does it mean to be inspired? It basically means that you begin to seek more than where you were before. But you can't seek more if you don't see more. You can't seek more. So when you travel to a nation you've never been before, maybe the first time, most people that go to this Dubai come back inspired. Why? They see what they've not seen before. They now begin to see possibilities within their own realities. And that is where inspiration comes from. So let me say this to you. If you're not inspired, you don't want a next level. You are comfortable where you are. If you are not inspired, you are going to go just sit where you are and explain yourself away. If you are, as a CEO, look, I was in Austin, Texas last week, and I sat in a meeting where there were fellow creators. So we have a creator, there's a body of creators around the world. We create content and stuff like that. And so we had was a Kajabi conference. And I sat down and I listened to, there was this young, I think it was from Zimbabwe or South Africa, it was Southern Africa, and he had done $4 million. I was inspired on one product. I was inspired. Now, if you saw him, he looked so fragile and all that. And I'll be honest, we all profile people. Am I right? You say, look at this person. We all profile people, all right? And so I profiled him. I was like, oh, nice looking man, but he's a young guy. But when I had this experience, I reprofiled him and I became inspired. You get my point? And now I left that place saying to myself, if he can do it, I can. That is inspiration. And so in meetings like this, you will get inspired. But inspiration is in a moment and can be lost in a moment. Because everybody is always inspired. You always have your moments. It might be in the boardroom, it might be in the classroom, it might be in anywhere. We all have those moments where we begin to, let me say the word you don't want to hear, dream again. To dream basically means to create new pictures of new possibilities. And tell me any great CEO that does not dream. Tell me any great leader that is not pursuing a dream. Tell me anybody that is not doing amazing stuff that has no dream. Every great person is powered by a dream. But this is the thing. The inspiration keeps your dreaming ability going. Because let me say this to you. The world is filled with stressors to make you not dream at all. To make you even get to a point where you're like, well, thank God for where we are. And there's that level, but there's another level of thank God for where I'm going to. I don't know whether there's somebody with me in that regard, all right? So the first dimension is called inspiration. The second dimension, which I think a lot of people don't even ever really get to, is insights. And I'm going to explain what that means. It is one thing to be excited about a new possibility. It's one thing to sit down to get insight about that possibility. A lot of people, have you met them before? Oh, to me, oh, this. You know, I attended Kajabi. I saw this guy that made $4 million. I'm going to make $4 million. Look, on my flight to Nigeria, I bought one book. I read the book is a repository of insight. All right. My internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
It's better now. You're back now.
Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, good. What did you hear last? I just want to be sure.
On your
what
flight?
Did you hear last?
On your flight?
Okay, yes, on my flight. I bought a book. In fact, the book was written by a gentleman who came to speak at that conference. And to me, he said he created a product 4 years ago. He has been running ads on that project, on that product for 4 years. He says, I can't even remember what the product is, but I can't forget that last year I made $7 million from that product. So I bought his book. See, I've read that book before, but let me tell you what happens. When you are inspired and you read what I read before, see what you did not see before. That is called insights. I remember when I'm talking about inspiration, you only see the words, you will not see the spirit, if you get what I'm talking about. And what changes is the spirit. And what inspiration means in spirit. Are we together? So this is what I tell people. Create a culture of inspiration around your life. It will help you to enjoy more insights. And let me put the last I before I finish. It is insight that brings increase. That's the last I. It starts with inspiration, it goes to insight, and then insight is what brings increase. Everybody is here because of increase. You want a better life, you want the next thing. But most times, what do? We chase increase, leave inspiration. When we even get inspiration, we're like, yes, I can do it. It's possible. But you don't go and get insights. So I said to myself, I moved to America 2 years ago. I said to myself, what do you want to focus on while you're here? And I said, you know what? Based on the inspiration that I have, I'm meant to be one of the top voices in my field. And I know my field. I've done a number of things, but the career space, you know, the marketplace, that's my area, that's my field. So I said to myself, what positioning can I have for that? And so I have my executive coaching, all right? So that's the dimension that I want to now. So I said, okay, in America, as an executive coach, yes, you have the certification, is there another thing? And then I've joined the Forbes Coaching Council. I'm trying to read books. There's some courses I want to go and do in Harvard, in MIT. Let me tell you about the period of insights. When you are getting insight, you will be out of sight. Write that down. I'll explain to you. When you are getting insight, you will be out of sight. You see, this is what, some people want to get insight and still be available. No, like Davido says, I'm unavailable. There must be a season you must be unavailable. Are you hearing me? I'm serious, because you see, you can't produce at the same time you are giving out at the same time. It doesn't work that way. And so I'm in a season now where I'm not too enthusiastic. For a long time, I've not been off Instagram. I took 3 weeks off. I tried. It was hard. But what was I trying to do there? Insights. Insights. I'm coming out gradually now with the insight that I've gotten that is going to bring increase. This is why, listen to me, think about it. Every great organization, you see what they do something. At a point in time, they take a break from everything. They go on a retreat. They go and do that. Then when they go on that retreat, they play, they relax. They bring a specialist to come and talk about something. They get insight. It's from that insight, they now craft their increase and begin to pursue it. I wanted us to, I'm not a very complex teacher. I studied agric in school, one of the easiest courses. Just take corn, put it in the ground, it will grow. That's how I chose my course. Do you get my points? And all that. So I don't like complex things. If I encounter a complex concept, my job is to make it simple. I could talk about methodologies, hypotheses. I can come out sounding so sound, but at the end of the day, nothing will happen in your life. I just want you to do 3 things. We're already at the half-year mark by the end of this month. And I'm saying to you that if you have not taken time away from your regular life to go and get inspiration, go and do that now. Go and do that now. Technology has enabled us to be inspired without leaving our house. But sometimes what you watch is only designed to keep you where you are. So change what you are watching. There's a concept in spiritual, areas they call fasting. And the concept is to abstain from something. Do you know, if you abstain from entertainment for 2 weeks and focus on insight for 2 weeks, you cannot be the same. My mom saw me and said, I've lost weight. You know how I lost weight? It's what I was eating that she saw on the outside. I eat more leaves now. Me and goats are competing. Do you get my point? I'm having more smoothie, even though it's not smooth. I like the hard stuff. But the outcome you are seeing is because of the process that you don't see. So I'm asking you, what's that next thing ahead of you? What's that thing? And sometimes you might not have clarity. Take a break. Listen to me. People are too busy going nowhere. Take a break. Now, when I say take a break, I'm not saying don't do nothing. I'm saying do something different from what I've been doing. Because that sometimes is what a break is. Not all of us can go to Maldives every week. Do you get my point? If you can't go to Maldives, go to your village. Just go somewhere. Are we together? See something different. Be inspired. I went, the conference was my friend, Steve Harris, was speaking at the conference. I tagged along with him, but I came back inspired. And now I'm getting insight. If you look in my bag, I have 2 books in that field. I had a meeting with my team. I have a team here in Nigeria that I work with and all that. I shared yesterday insight with them. We have another meeting on Monday where we're going to strategize again based on insight. Next thing you will see Jimi coming out with stuff that will bring increase to him. Increase is not just financial, increase is visibility and positioning also. And I'm telling you that now more than ever before, the democratization of knowledge through technology has opened the door for you to become somebody great from where you are. There's so much that the world needs of you for you to just be, that the only accomplishment you have is that you're paying your bills. There's a life bigger than that. I'm excited about the READ community. It is somebody's initiative. Look at it. We are gathered from different places in the world around somebody's idea that she got from inspiration, but she got insights. And now we are enjoying that increase. I want to just share this with you real quick so that way we have something we can work with. Go. Listen to me, it's that simple. Go and get inspiration. Then when you have that inspiration actually brings clarity. Then you now sit down and get insight, because everything works by systems. I don't care the field. I don't care the industry. Everything works by system. If it's not working, maybe your system is not aligned to the system where you are. So once you understand the system, then from there, you can dream, you can create your vision and begin to pursue it, and you're on your way towards increase. Ladies and gentlemen, I've invested a few minutes of my life having this conversation with you. If you don't do anything with it, and I meet you in the future, and I find out you did not do anything, I will block you. I'm telling you today, I will block you. You're a dangerous person. It means that you don't value knowledge. But I'm sure you will not do that, all right? I'm sure you're going to do something with all I've shared today. So thank you so much to me. I can take any questions right now.
Wow! 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 We have limited time and we are making the best use of the time. What can I say? The Jimi Tewe, thank you, sir, for all you do. Before we take in the questions, I just have to say this about the best 30 minutes of my 2023. Get that kind of thing. It's been amazing. You came in, brought in all the fire, all the everything. We just came out of a session with Mampai. We're talking about self-sabotaging, and he was focusing on us on the enemy within. And one of the things that's really struck out for me following you, sir, is the way you've been able to transit, like break these fears. Now you're telling us that you are evolving again, like it's as if you made this evolving easy. For people that don't know Jimi, he moved from senior management in banking to motivational speaker. Like, who does that? But he did that. Then next thing we knew, he stopped pastoring a church. In fact, when he did that, I had to see that, like, start studying very well from afar to like, how do you just challenge the status quo, break everything, and almost like start all over again? Can you just in 2 minutes help us? How do you break this fear of the unknown?
All right. I think that, somebody asked me this question a while back, and I think that I just answered very simply. I don't know how to manage. I don't know how I learned that. I don't know how to manage. I don't know how, when things are not going well in my life, to just accept it as fate and just live with it. So I didn't plan my transitions like that, I followed my inspiration, and I explain what I mean by that. So when I was working in the senior manager, I was at the age of 29, I was a senior manager in the banking sector in Nigeria. I was earning a lot. I was okay, head of recruitment for a bank, had coverage for 16 countries in Africa, all those things everybody's trying to, but I will go to work and I'm almost dying because I'm like, I can do this, but I can do more. There's more to me. There's more to me. And everybody I was meeting was like, Jimi, but you're already doing a lot compared to others. I've learned that my life is not driven by comparison. If there's any comparison, I compare myself with who I am meant to be, not who is next to me. Kemi's journey is her journey. Susan's journey is her journey. Gloria's journey is her journey. I can only be inspired by them, but I will never measure myself by that. Never, ever. And so I realized, and then I was inspired. One day, let me talk about the first transition. I was in my bank, senior manager in the bank, and a motivational speaker walked in, and the bank invited him to speak to the bank. Oh, so there are levels to speaking. So the bank invited him to speak to the bank, and then I realized that, man, there's something here. And this one resonates with me more than this one. So I began to spend time around that inspiration. Then I got insights that I made the move towards increase. So I pastored the church. I've done that for many years. And then I got to a point where I realized that in terms of my capability, even though the status quo is that when you're a pastor forever and all that, I realized that no, there's a John Maxwell, there's a Sam Adeyemi. There are people that were actually foundationally in the church, but the expression of their person has gone beyond that. I was inspired and I decided to make the move. Listen to me. I believe that the building block of regrets is excuses. The excuses I'm giving today will build a wall of regret for me tomorrow. I realized, please allow me, permit me to take a phrase from the Bible. He said, it is good for a man to bear his yoke in his youth. What that means that the earlier you bear your yoke, the better for you. So my youth might be now, you might be 50 years old. I'm telling you something. I don't ask you to take any drastic steps. You can be inspired, go and get insights. That's the problem. He told me I should chase my dream. Your dream might be chasing you. You get my point? Calm down. Go and get insights. Sit down with somebody who has transited. What did they do? Then look at your situation, condition, because we don't all have to go the same route. Everybody doesn't have to design. There are people that listen to me, that people that they'll have a 9 to 5, then they'll have a 5 to 9, and they'll be greater in their 5 to 9 than their 9 to 5. Are you listening to me? So you create your unique path, and you listen to me. You have only one life. This life is not a series where there's season 1, season 2. It's one season and you're over. So that's how I treat my life. Like, you've got to do. At the point in time, when the program was climbing in Nigeria, and when you can't mention top 5 speakers, you mention me and some other people, then I was inspired again. Africa is great. How about the world? America is a platform. And then I carried my family again 2 years ago, and we've been in America. And what am I doing right now? I'm still hidden. Wait for me, my increase is coming. It works because it is principle-based. And now, let me be honest, it is not easy. They said that the road less traveled. That's one. That's why, because the inside, the more is okay. Hello? Okay, great. We're back, yeah? Sorry about that. That's the internet. Okay, great. Yeah. What's the last thing you heard? Let me, so whether we're good students.
Okay, you took your family to America. It will not be easy.
Okay.
Let me warn you.
I said quite a bit. So that was another level. And let me say this to you. Every human must keep evolving. The greatest you is inside you. I've not seen it yet. So I don't care the height or success you have, you will always have to evolve, all right? That ability is from a place where, and I like how, I'm happy that Mampai spoke about fear. Fear is the biggest limitation in the world, but it's false. Do you get my point? Being afraid that what if I do this? What if you do it and it works? So I like the positive side, but with more insight, you are able to navigate your way a whole lot better. Do you get my point? Sometimes I made decisions that were wrong. And I've become a better person because of that. But you don't learn anything by not doing anything. That's the truth about it. So now the earlier you do it, the better. But let me say this to you. If you did not wake up yesterday, today that you woke up is your morning. Today is your youth. Today is your time to bear that thing. Because imagine living your life without fulfilling what you want to do. I don't want to do that. So let me stop there.
Wow, 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 wow. Susan, can we have you? Yes.
Okay, so I think I'm a bit speechless, so you have to bear with me because I kind of bargained for this, but not this much. First of all, it feels like as if an X-ray has been taken through me, like, okay, see yourself, you know what to do. You have so much stored, but how much action are you taking? And there were so many takeaways from your conversation. Thank you so much, sir. It's first thing for me, what hit me is that it's not just about knowing. Knowledge is not power, it's knowledge applied. And I've heard you say it so many times. I've actually been at your church a couple of times, so I've heard you say it so many times, and yes, I have. And so it was just more or less like reflective for me. And looking at both speakers today, it's been, one thing has been said over and over again, self-assessment. You have to sit back, look at yourself, give yourself an honest assessment. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then there's something else that you mentioned that also struck me. It was about visibility and positioning. And that's how to gain exponential. It's not just financial. So for me, I've been looking at it like, okay, how do I earn? That's how I grow. But if I'm not positioned well, if I'm not visible, then I am not growing. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. I do not take this for granted because it feels like this is so surreal. First of all, I was like, okay, I have to be in the same room with you. And this is like a dream come true. So thank you. And thank you for pouring out. Thank you for making it very practical as well. Because for me, I was thinking about how, especially for transitioning, you are a very typical example of what it means to move from one phase or season to another. And for me, I've just been reflecting, is it possible to still stand out when you move from one aspect to another? And then you've just broken it down that it's very possible and you can still shine and still be very, very much relevant. So thank you very much. If anyone has questions, please drop your questions in the chat box or raise your hand, say the attendant.
We have less than 2 minutes. Kemi's hand is up. Okay, Gloria, can we have you in 2 minutes? We need to let Jimi go now.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say thank you so much. It's been the best 30 minutes of 2023 for me, you know. I just like the fact that you made me understand that clarity is very, very important. Like I need to have a focus. And for my insight, I don't necessarily have to have like a very big getaway, you know. I just need to do something different. And trust me, I am going to be applying this. In fact, see you in the future. I hope to see you someday soonest when I'll tell you I was at the summit, so summit, and you made an impact. Really, really thank you. Like my mind is blown, like a lot to take in, a lot to process, and a lot to give back to myself, you know. Everything works with a system. Like that is one thing I have been failing at. Most times I just want to get by. But right now, after this, I'm going to figure out, I'm in the education system, so I'm going to figure out what system works and then start applying what it is, whatever works for me, for the system, you know. So thank you so much. I've been inspired, sincerely. That's the word, I've been inspired. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Kemi, your hand is up in 1 minute. It needs to get off.
Okay, so it's going to be real quick. So I followed you. You went to Atlanta. Now you're back in Ibadan. Very good. So thanks for all that you do. Thanks for making Ibadan people great.
Please, can you stop saying Ibadan on this call? Thank you.
I won't sing. Please, what are the name of the 2 books? Because you talked about insights, and yeah, I just want to know the name of 2 books, and then I'll let other people speak.
Okay, so when people ask me about books, I don't tell them, not because I don't want to, but sometimes it's not. So for example, it's in my field, so it's very specific. I'll tell you one. The book is called Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Bouchard. I've read that book before. I had before. Somebody stole it from me, but with inspiration, they know too. Oh, okay. The Ibadan network has gone off. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. You said Millionaire Messenger. Okay. So, and
yes,
you had it before. People stole it from you. I had that before.
Thank you. And I read it before, but now I'm reading with inspiration and I'm getting insights out of that. The second one is about making offers that no one can say no to. All right. Because that's my field, unique. And that is the system in my field. Do you know what I'm telling you? Now, let me give you a secret. One of the things that the secret of any system is always discussed in certain circles. Your job is to find your way into those circles. You need to pay, find a way. Listen to me, people always discuss. So the only thing where it is secret, you think secret calls, but they have secret conversations. Do you get my point? And all that. So listen to me. If it was open, everybody will know it. It has to be secret. That's why, and things that are secret are usually hidden behind the price. So the conference I went to right now,
wow.
All right, I was on the VIP team and all that. The VIP ticket was a few $1,000s, to my point, to be there and all that. And there was a general sitting where if you pay a lower amount, you'll be there. But they did not hear what we are hearing in that inner chamber. So sometimes you have to pay to get insight. I want to just put out there. But those are the books I was reading.
Words on marble, things that are secrets are hidden behind the price. Thank you so much, Jimi. We respect your time so much. We'll continue the conversation.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes. You really appreciate. Whoa, 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 whoa. Really? Green Summit 2.0 Day 1. If you've gained value, please, can I just see in the chat room your aha moments? In the chat room, like, you can't come for this summit and your life will be the same again. It's exponential growth. The enemy within, limiting habits. What is the one thing? So hold yourself accountable. What is the one thing that you're going to leave here doing? What is your number one critical take home from this as we round up? And if you have any questions, any contributions, you can raise your hand. We still have Mampai around. For Susan, she's traveling, yeah. Gloria is getting clarity. Get out of sight to get inside. Like, that was powerful. That was powerful. Can we see more? It's very important with inspiration to gain insight. Excellent. It's very important we do these things because, as the speaker said, some of the things they said today was not new, but the application, Catherine is saying, yeah, Catherine, the world should get ready. The world should get ready for you. Yes, we are ready. We want to see you. Awesome. Yes, this life is not by comparison. Now, I don't want us to, you see the way we've been so gingered. We finished the first session. It was like, we couldn't get enough time for questions and answers. Now we've got to the second question and the second session, and everybody's up there. Can you tell me in the chat room one limiting habit that you're going to break away from? Remembering, and that's why I really loved the first session. You know, it was so relatable and articulately presented, like, you are normal. Everything you're going through is normal, but you have to be deliberate, not to make abnormal become normal in your life. So can you tell me one thing that you're going to do differently from this session to ensure that abnormal does not become normal in your life? And if you're open enough, can you tell us, yeah, the first session is too much tied to the second session here. That's how we arranged it. Thank you, Gloria. So can you tell us in the chat room, let's see, what is that one thing that you will stop doing? You know, as Mampai told us, it's not about the big things, baby steps, a little procrastination, lack of time management, and breaking this career. Do away with procrastination. Negative self-talk, yeah, those things in your head, like I'm just being realistic. I know I cannot do it. Who told you? Who told you? I loved it when Mampai said she was an introvert. I don't know how many people got that. I wanted to take her on that. How can you be an introvert and an excellent MC? Like, how do you match those two things together? Killing fear of failure, of mistake. It's okay to fail. In fact, in our failures, I was listening to someone and the guy was like, see, before you can coach me, I must see your failure. Have you failed enough to be able to be my coach? Because if you've not failed, you really don't have the track record to be able to coach me. Okay, I really think it's been an amazing evening. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is 12 noon. We're having Peter tomorrow, and we're having, yes, you are your own limit, Oladayo. You are your own limit. And as Jimi said, you know, that's what we tell ourselves. If you are complaining about motivational speakers, is it the motivational speakers that you want to be speaking into your life? You need to be hearing these things over and over and over again. And Mampai said, Jimi capped it up. You need to be able to invest in your life. If you are not, and that's where most of us miss it out, self-care. You think, I'm thinking of the best way to put it. We are cheap project for ourselves. You don't have budget for yourself. You don't have coaching budgets. You don't have mentoring budgets, nothing. And you expect your life to change. Like, seriously, it's not going to happen. You have to be deliberate about your goal. We are still 33 on this call, and I'm super excited and impressed about the energy level. While we round up, Kike, please drop in the chat room, read community. We are starting another session of free coaching, 1 year free coaching, because it's just what we enjoy to do. We love to make this world a better place together, and we believe we can do it. So please, we'll be dropping the links in the chat room. Yeah, there's it. Kiki has dropped it. Share it with your friends and family. It's only for serious-minded people. If you're not serious, we put you out, because you have to be serious about your life. So while we round up with my co-hosts, let me have them come up and speak for 2 minutes, and we can call it a night. You've seen how this night is. We'll be sharing the recordings. You can't afford to miss tomorrow. So Kemi, can we have you? Then would have Susan, can you just wrap up the night for us as we close?
Please.
Hello, Kemi.
Yes. Did you want me to round up?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you to Mininu and the team, because of course there's a lot of work that's gone on behind. My take home this evening, besides the 2 books that Jimi Tewe spoke about, is that even the greatest self-sabotage, however, it's my responsibility to find a way to attack those areas, like listen out for the triggers. Also, what I liked is that when she said set triggers for your affirmation, she made it simple as traffic lights. Yeah, so those are the changes.
Sorry to cut in. You said
Sure.
these things, so I remember my light bulb moment. Mampai, that was amazing. Like, I wrote it down. Use negatives as a positive trigger, because normally when you meet traffic lights, it's like, oh no, do I have to slow down? I don't want to stop. But when it becomes a positive trigger, so you're using something negative, I'm like, I got to do this. I got to do this. Every time I stop at the traffic light, I'm affirming sense into myself. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Okemi.
Yeah, so those triggering moments and having a response for them, if you are somebody who has negative thoughts, as I think preparedness, because these thoughts will come, but if you are prepared with an affirmation or a counter thought, so as soon as it comes, then you should just say, no, I am better than this, I'm more than enough. And I think they've given us a lot of tools for that. Knowledge. Another thing that I think we do is we come to these seminars, we get inspired. Like Jimi said, inspiration is in a moment and it can be lost in a moment. But when we reflect, that's when when we are constantly reflecting. So I will go back and revisit my notes, connect with people who were also on this Zoom session, so that it's constantly, and then that's the way I believe that change will start to take place, and that will be my exponential growth. So thank you very much. Amazing evening. I don't even know if I can see. I don't even think I'm hungry because I've been fed. Thoroughly fed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi. Susan, can we have final word from you?
Okay, so it's been an amazing evening. For me, key takeaways has been do an honest self-assessment. For me, I have to sit back and look at those points where I have self-sabotage. There are a lot. So I really need to take out time and then start working on them. Baby steps, but I'll definitely start working on them. And also I need to retreat. And finally, I have to, even means pay, but get into those circles where I can get those secrets, because it's important. I need to grow. So thank you so much, Ree. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Gloria?
So thank you so much, Coach, for this great opportunity. Like, it's been very inspiring. So my take home is that my behavior is not always my fault, but then I must take responsibility for it. It's my responsibility. A lot of times I do a lot of times I sort of decide that since it's not my fault, then I should just let things go and all that, oh, but it's not my fault. Oh, it's my health. Oh, it's this, it's that. Yes, it's not your fault. However, it's your responsibility and you must take responsibility for it. And then also, the fact that your increase is not just a result of finances. Most of the time we want to chase the money, but then there are strategies also where your feasibility, how you positioning yourself. So for me is, I want to see how I can position myself, how I can be in the right circle. I know you've taught us over and over about our networks and all that. So we'll be putting all this into practice, not just what we just ginger and all that. Yeah. So I want to practice these things, and then being in the right system, working, like applying the right systems to everything I do. So these are my take home. Thank you so much, Reed. I really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you. Last word from Mampai. Load shedding. Can you come up? Can we have a last word from you?
Oh, Miss Load Shedding. Thank you so much for this opportunity to me and your team. I'm always inspired by any initiative that aims at transforming lives, helping people to be the best versions of themselves, shifting mindsets. It really energizes me, because at the end of the day, my passion is people. So thank you for the invite, and I wish you guys well. And yes, I'm available to partner going forward. Let me know where I can support you and make this movement greater. Thank you very much.
Wow, 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 wow. Awesome. Please, everyone, as we end, can we all unmute our mics and tell Mampai a big thank you for joining us all the way from South Africa. Please,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mom.
So much.
Thank you.
Just good to see you. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you tomorrow. It's been an amazing evening. Good night and God bless.